Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this wonderful event. We have a fantastic lecture today by Dr. Kevin Sanford, and I would like to do a brief introduction of our special speaker. Dr. Kevin Sanford stands for more than 20 years of leadership, motivation, and professional experience as a successful business owner, a decorated military veteran, and a published academic lecturer. His background and experience allow him to present real-world expertise within all of his business courses to help guide and cultivate innovative leaders for the future. Dr. Sanford earned his PhD in Human Resource Development with a concentration in Organizational Development and Change from the University of Texas at Tyler. He earned his Master of Business Administration from Sam Houston State University, also in Texas. So guess where Dr. Sanford is originally from? Anyway, Dr. Sanford developed his passion for education while serving in the U.S. Marine Corps as a training instructor in leadership and motivation. He brings entrepreneurial experience through global partnerships, consulting, and investing, and is committed to sharing his real-world insights with colleagues and students. He also serves as an experienced department chair and academic senate vice president, currently serving as a faculty lead on the BCAP, the Blue Economy and Climate Action Pathways Steering Committee for the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, LARC. And that is a consortium of 19 community colleges in LA County. So that's the way he advances aquaculture through industry academia partnerships, workforce training, and sustainable job placement. And the most important thing I forgot to say, Dr. Kevin Sanford is, of course, also an adjunct professor at Woodbury University School of Business. And now, without further ado, Dr. Kevin Sanford.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate it. So, so today I'm going to be talking about the blue economy and aquaculture. And because it's a relatively new topic, I often don't know like who in the room is familiar with it or has a background in it um, or who has knowledge of this growing field. Again, it's relatively new. And so I always start my I spoke about it a few times, and when I start my presentation or at a conference, I always say that my perspective on it is not going to be the same, or my interaction or my presentation is not going to be the same as my other colleagues in this industry. And so I have an anecdotal story that when I first heard about BCAP, it's been now probably 2 or 3 years. One of my colleagues, actually the dean from what community college I teach at, um, she and one of her colleagues went to the initial BCAP conference in Long Beach. There's an organization called Alta Sea, and they're the sort of the forefront of increasing awareness and participation and internships and jobs and so so they went to the conference and she called me to let me know that which I could not have paid for this tagline anymore. Like it's been so useful to me. I repeat the story a million times that she's like, I don't see why, because she was representing business, why business is here at this conference because it has nothing to do with business. I'm so glad she said that because that just could not have been any further from the truth. She's now since retired, but she said it had nothing to do with business. And I was like, and at that time I didn't know anything about BCAP, but what I did know is that my general perspective is any movement is everything to do with business. And so generally, um, and so once she started telling me about the program, and then I ended up becoming a faculty lead for it for the 19 schools and the 19 community colleges in the LA area. Um, so we met down at Long Beach at the Alta Sea company, which I'll talk more about that later on. They have amazing programs and you can take tours of their facilities and they have amazing facilities. And some of it's like out of a science fiction. If you've never had the benefit of taking a tour of Alta Sea in Long Beach, they have an aquarium. It's absolutely amazing. And so I went there, and so they had us meet in a giant warehouse with a little table, like tables set up in the center of this giant empty warehouse and with the lights shining on it. It was like it's something like it could be a horror movie or something. I don't know what was going on. I was like, I'm here just to find out what it is and what it's about. So I go in, and so we're all of us are sitting around the table. Again, there's representation from all the different schools. And as people are introducing themselves and talking about their field of interest, at the table there is um, underwater robotics and marine biology and oceanography and science. And I was like, there's a whole lot of science. And then it came to me, and I was like, um, I knew instantly why I was at the table because I knew, like, from their conversations of what BCAP and them already having experience and knowledge in BCAP, what it meant to them. And so, and what the blue economy meant to them. And so, my perspective was that this has everything to do with business because when you start talking about the blue economy, so my initial delivery when I speak about it is I say it's like the green economy, like the go green and recycle. And there's a lot of funding behind that. It's kind of fading, but it's a lot of funding behind that. But also from the blue economy. So now there's the blue economy of, recycling and renewable energies and things from the ocean and around the ocean. So from a business perspective, and I've had this conversation with several people, it's like the robots that go underwater are not free. Someone has to buy those and make them. And as an accounting professor, which I am not, someone has to maintain it's losing its value every year. The salt water is affecting its components, and they have a thing that's called from sea to table, it's like farm to table, where they grow food in the ocean and then people consume it. I was like, how does that food get from the ocean to someone's house? And the answer is business. And so the answer to every single question was business. And so business management, business marketing, business, and like the list went on of everything business. And so I started thinking about real estate. Like all of the property along the ocean belongs to somebody. All of the land under the water also belongs to somebody. And so as I began to do more research on the research do more research on the real estate perspective, the business opportunities of underwater real estate, I actually found stuff on it that referred to it as a lot of times it belongs to a country, a lot of times it's locally owned. A lot of times I've discovered a lot of times America does not recognize the sovereignty of the countries that own the land. And so they go in and they can still harvest things from precious metals or resources. So I went to Alta Sea, and the coolest thing that they had this garden out in the ocean. It was like a little circle, like a whole bunch of like hundreds or maybe thousands of little discs with ropes hanging from them. And so I'm giving you a visual component, and then we'll get into slides. And so when you lift one of the circles out of the water, there's a rope with kelp on it. And so then they cut the kelp off the rope, they put it back in there, and then back in the water, and it grows again. And they take that kelp, and kelp, I had no idea what you could do with kelp besides food, medicine, makeup, clothes, animal food, supplemental, like the list goes on of what you can do with kelp. There's a lot. Again, it's a renewable resource, kind of like bamboo. It just keeps growing, but the wild bamboo takes a lot of water on land. The kelp is already in the water, and so it is a very renewable resource. So, like again, who is processing all of that, and who again? So the answer was business. And so what I did was, I'm going to go to my slideshow now. So as I began talking to primarily the other 18 people at the table, so again representing all the different schools in the LA area, was their contribution, but then again business, and so I had to sort of convince people initially that this has a lot to do with it. And so Santa Monica is the primary lead school. Santa Monica Community College is the lead school on the blue economy, and they're going full speed. And one of the problems that we've run into is because it is a new field and it's a growing field. There's not a lot of LMI out there. There's not a lot of data. You won't see that there's 10,000 jobs available in the LA area. You won't see that it's because it's a brand new field that's growing, but there is a demand for it. And so to develop programs and classes and things on it, it's met with resistance. However, while initially I thought would be just sort of a fad, to be honest with you, but the state has gotten behind it, and each year for the past 3 years, they keep dumping lots of money on it. Um, Initially, it was a few $1 million. This past year, they just approved a grant for $200 million. And it's not just academia, but also partnering with other companies. There's one company, I forgot the name of it, but they are setting up key points all along the coast and different ports to do research and make jobs available, and things where people can get directly involved with what is blue economy and what is aquaculture. Let me share my screen here. Thank you. Okay, so once again, we're talking about blue economy and climate action pathways, and it has to do with um, why is it important to us in academia, and why would our students care about it? Um, if it's a growing field, there may not be a whole lot of interest initially. However, I just attended a conference on Wednesday last week, and the interest is growing. I was surprised there's a few hundred people at this event, and a lot of them are industry people that are wanting to know how can their companies get involved with it, and especially as the government makes more money available to participate with it, people are getting more on board. But again, initially I thought if the government is giving money, once the money is gone, that there'll be no interest in it. However, after actually going to Alta Sea and experiencing what they have to offer as far as internships and resources that they actually are getting from the ocean, I became like much more interested in myself, and I felt like I could talk about it in a way that people, if nothing else, that idle curiosity to do exploration. So blue economy refers to sustainable use of ocean resources. Again, so it encompasses sectors like renewable energy, and there's a long list of things. Even if you do a Google search to say what is blue economy, there's a long list of things that it incorporates into the blue economy, and what it means. So this slide here is something that I initially thought of whenever I was thinking of how is this business related? And so again, all the equipment, the windmills, the harvesting things, again, literally all of that is business. And so I felt like me literally being at the table, a metaphor, and literally that my counterparts began to agree, or at least understand. And so the next thing that we talked about was what can we do to help people understand, or at least know what we're talking about when we talk about the blue economy and aquaculture and what it means to be doing stuff in the ocean. And so one of the things that we did at LA Valley College, we actually started a program called Blue Economy Across the Curriculum. And so it was a spin that I took off of something that someone else had told me about doing climate across the curriculum. We want to do blue economy across the curriculum, and how every single class, not just discipline, not just management or marketing or accounting, not just the main topics, that it could be applied to not only the overall, but to specific individual classes. And so as a group of like 12 of us, we got together, Dr. Marquez as well. We got together, we had a discussion on how can we incorporate into the classroom. And so we came up with a 6-step process, which I'm going to share today, on taking the topic. And it's sometimes I realize it's hard to change curriculum or incorporate things into curriculum because it is a slow moving process. However, as an individual instructor, our focus wasn't to make it as part of the required curriculum, like the core part of the class, but just an additional portion, because everything's Canvas based now, an additional module, specifically created a module with 6 different components that allow the students and the faculty too, to be honest with you, to get a better understanding of what is the blue economy and why should I care about it. And again, from a scientific perspective, it's amazing the science that's involved, not my area, but from a business perspective, definitely my area, there's lots of business opportunities that are available, especially as more money keeps coming out of the government. Like that's just really exciting. Harbor, LA Harbor Community College got a giant grant as well. I'm not sure how much it was. They also got a giant grant to take the lead on it for the LACCD, for the LA Community College District. And um, it's definitely a growing field, something that we should definitely be aware of. And the resources that are out in the ocean, something as simple as they have a wave machine to capture energy, and some just things that you're familiar with already, but also additional things that again that may not be things that we automatically think of when we think about the ocean, about how it's literally a vast resource or source of resources of renewable energy and renewable things, which is pretty exciting. So here's the blue economy. Let's see here. Okay, so basically what we did, again, we took the idea of how can we, not specifically a college course, while Santa Monica is doing that, they now have a degree and a certificate, and they've gone head over heels for the, where I just wanted to apply it to our existing classes and to our existing uh, concepts and programs. So that way, as our students are looking to find out, like, I want a career in what, that's another opportunity for them to get on board with a new field. And so a field that is, once again, that does have funding and is growing. And the again, it's super interesting. The concepts, the way I explain it, is the green economy and how it sort of merges with the ocean economy. And you can see the slides, and I can make the slides available too afterwards. It just gives you an overview of what's coming out of this and why are we doing it, and again, what we hope to achieve. Now, the idea is to partner with organizations that are needing assistance or direction. A lot of these organizations are providing internships, jobs that again justify why a student would care about this. And again, it's really interesting. So there's lots of opportunities from an academic perspective to write papers, to do research, because Altacy is a research institute. Like are doing constantly doing research, and they partner with local businesses as well as different academic institutions. Okay, let me skip ahead here. So, okay, so what jobs are available? Again, there's a long list of them. What can students do with this if they were to have an interest in it? And the basic concepts that that we teach in our courses, management, marketing, things that can be applicable to any job. Again, it also fits into this overall. I had a group, I sit in on a presentation one time where I had a group of judges from the LA courthouse come, and they talked about what it is they do as judges. And one of the things that they mentioned, which I thought was really interesting, I was already aware of it, but that they told the students, is that where they're at in the courthouse system, it's not made up of just judges, and it's not made up of just lawyers. It's, in fact, a lot of the components of their organization have nothing to do with anyone with a legal background. You've got the managers and the marketing and the finance and the accounting and all of these different areas that contribute to any organization. And so it's not just exclusive. Again, if you don't to work at the, if you're interested in working at the courthouse, you probably should have a law degree, and that is not the case. And so I thought of that same component or idea, applying it to blue economy. And so again, I got really excited about it. So basically what I'm gonna show you is just a brief overview of what we did. And this is a great idea for anyone that wants to incorporate it in the classroom, especially now with using Canvas. So what we're looking at here is a shell that we created, but the shell specifically is not, you wouldn't have that in your class. You would just have a individual module. And so what we did is the class I'm using is it's Finance H, which is personal finance. And this is a course at LA Valley College. And so Basically, we wanted to take these 6 components, an overview. You tell us about the course and um, how it incorporates with the blue economy, and then supplemental materials, article, videos, things to support the blue economy um, and your course together. So there's articles on, if you're doing an introduction to management class or introduction to business class, how do they, um, what materials are already out there? And you may not find very many, but there are some, and you could use that as supplemental materials just to further support the idea that you will find management in the blue economy. And then discussion question. This discussion question can be over a chapter or it could be about a project, whatever it is that you want, tying it specifically back to the blue economy. And then a summary, tell them what you said. What is an overview of this module? And then an assessment. An assessment could be a project, could be a case study, it could be an exam, it could be multiple or combinations. Have them write a paper, some sort of reflection on to prove or show their understanding. And so we've done probably 15 courses so far, and we want to do I think it's 30 courses total or 38. So we want to do a lot more courses as it applies individually and how you can, again, incorporate that into your class. So what basically our concept was to have every single class have a sort of a template, and there's the 6 components. And the first one is just talks about what is blue economy, because a lot of people don't know. And so what is the blue economy? What are we talking about? And so it just gives an overview. And so as you're going through so you're scrolling down, Santa Monica is an amazing resource on videos and articles and things that talk about academia and the blue economy mixed together. So again, so you've got the industry itself plus the academic component. And so you would see this um, 1-1, you would see that in all classes, no matter what your class is. And several times when we've had discussions, some people, especially if they're the master of their class, feels like this topic doesn't fit with whatever their topic is. And I'm there to quickly tell them that is not true, that it very much can fit into any class as you incorporate what is your student learning and how can that be applied. Even, a math class or an English class, or you're having to write papers like business communication, like things like that are going to be significant. And again, from a business perspective, because as business, we incorporate all of those things. Like, and my business does math, my business does English, my business like this. So again, so no matter what your class is, it can incorporate a business component. And so again, just additional information. So then we get to the narrative part. And the narrative part is where you, as the professor, if you were adapting this class, you would tell the students, how does this apply to your class? Like, this class is finance. How does finance apply to the aquaculture and doing business under the sea? I don't understand. And so, the idea is, you explain it to them briefly. And what we discovered in the process, which is really enlightening, is that the faculty, especially like if I ask you, can you tell me? And you're like, I don't know. But as the faculty began doing the research to find out how they tie together, they became excited. So I mean, again, talking to Dr. Marquez, she was excited about using this information in her classes because it really is a growing field. And again, the money's there, which is really important. And the idea is it's, the whole climate thing, it actually is really good for the climate as well, as all of these resources that are already there and that are renewable, which is absolutely amazing. And so again, so then supplemental materials, videos, articles. You could do your own videos or put together supplemental materials that you've discovered. For this one, we just used simple information about read more about how your course or your class or your subject ties into what is the blue economy. Now, I get more excited about it as I talk about it because again, once you actually go there and you see the resources that are available, one of the things at the conference they talked about this past week was Catalina Island is also a proponent because it's very clear the ocean, and so they're a proponent to making resources available for free to instructors and to classes and to it's a great retreat to take you and your department or your group of people out to Catalina Island. There are lots of different organizations out there that will provide a free trip, a free day, because they want you to learn about their program and advertise their internships, like so many internships, so many grant opportunities, which is really great if you enjoy writing grants. So many grant related opportunities, which is again, it's really exciting. And so this is the discussion. The discussion can be whatever it's up to you what you want it to be about. If you want it to be about um, something you talked about in class or something specifically in the videos or just the topic itself in general. And it could be something as simple as something interesting that you discovered or didn't know, or something more advanced on as you apply these concepts and topics to the overall class that you're in. So again, you can do more than one as well. So again, this just makes a complete module that covers all the different areas. And then you're going to summarize it again, sort of reminding the students this faculty here focused on careers, super important. Again, why are you telling me about this? Because again, it is a growing industry, and there's lots of opportunities out there. And then the assessment that this professor did, we talked about prior to making the template, and we talked about, as I mentioned previously, doing a project, writing a paper. It would be really cool. This is something I would like to do, is to have students write a paper that they can present somewhere. Like that would be super cool to be able to present it as you could do a group paper, or you could do depending on how many people in your class. But I got really excited about the thought of doing that, or a poster session. I'm really excited about doing a poster session on the topics, and think of the visuals that you can incorporate from the blue economy. You got a lot of ocean pictures as it applies to the different concepts of your class or whatever the class is. So I think it's really exciting. So again, this is just more examples of this person did two different types of assessments. And so case study, sort of did the Harvard model, a case study to evaluate a situation, especially you want to, again, try to tie it into blue economy and have the students do an assessment of the case as it applies to the topic and to the ocean. And, again, how are they directly or indirectly involved? Mount San Antonio College is more inland, but they also really want to get involved, although they're not by the ocean. However, as the interest in fields grow, there's more ways that the conversation is including more people in different areas, so it can become more of and more people can participate. The more of a growing field to try to incorporate as many people as possible. So, and then, just giving the students directions on how to submit their project or paper or whatever. So, and a video. It's really exciting, the fact that I like when I receive resistance from people saying that, well, this will not apply to my class. So now it's a challenge for me, like a puzzle, to tell you, especially if I don't know anything about your class, how I think it can fit. Because again, we do everything in business, and so and I don't want to sound like arrogant or whatever, but it's true. It's true. Like, what is business? Business is people, and business communication, and businesses. Like, there's a lot involved in it, and so again, there's a lot of opportunities, which is really exciting. So, are there any questions or comments on the module for the class, for a class?
I think it's a fascinating topic, and I actually keep wondering because it hits me like it's very sustainability based, right?
Yes.
It's way of sustainability. How come that it is still, and maybe this is a misconception from me, not as known as it should be?
Thank you. And so the answer to the way I answer that question, anytime someone asks about someone didn't know, I feel like it has everything to do with marketing, or in this case, lack of marketing. And so I feel like they have not sufficiently marketed because it's not their area. And again, they are the people that I'm talking to at the table. And again, they're focusing on it's called the four pillars, the four components that make up this movement. And they're focusing on the actual process of how do you refine the water to use it, or the salt from the water, or how do you do the kelp, or the animals, and that's not what I'm thinking about at all. Again, and so from a marketing perspective, they're not thinking about how much better would it be for this movement to get more people involved. And why is it only community colleges? Why isn't it spread out to universities as well? And so looking at it from a global perspective, there's lots of participation, but it's usually not on a grand scale. But once again, the California is trying to be more of a on the forefront of getting people interested in it. And because there are so many grants that are available, then people want to get, especially when they see that the money they can get money out of it to do things with and to pursue it. And let me compensate you for your interest. And then that starts the movement, which is, I think that's where it's at now. Is it's still in its infant stages. We thought for sure after year two that the state was going to cut funding because they were approving very few different projects. But because of the growing interest in this, the state approved a third time, and that's where the $200 million came from. And so they did approve a third year, and it looks like they're going to continue to do another year. And so there's no insight as to how long they're going to continue to approve funding from the state level. But the idea is for it to pick up enough momentum that it sustains itself. That's sort of the idea. So, yeah. So again, I think just lack of people not sharing it or spreading the word. I think that's the biggest thing too. And also from an academic perspective, like I mentioned before, it's a slow moving ship. And so to get things incorporated or to convince people, like, oh, it's not gonna, even myself, I was reluctant initially. I was like, people are not going to care about this until you actually take the tour. And then you check online, Alta Sea offers tours all the time. And it's so interesting what they're doing down there. And you make a day of it because they've got the free aquarium and they've got take the family or, a group from work. And so it's just really cool to get on board with it. And again, a lot of people don't know about those resources or the opportunity. So, all right. So, let me move on here. Okay. So now again, there's lots of different areas, jobs. That's a big thing is what jobs and careers are available. And, yes, Adam, sorry, go ahead.
All right, I'm driving, so I have to figure out how to do this. All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm curious about whether you think desalination plants are part of the blue economy or not. They've been in the news a lot, obviously, because of the war, and might become more and more of a feature of Southern California as it rains less. And I wonder if desalination plants are considered part of that, or is that outside of the blue economy?
They are definitely part of the process because anything that's water related or ocean related, it's all part of the blue economy. And while desalination has been, again, it's not my area particularly, but desalination has been around for such a long time already, but it's still also not tapped into the level that it could be. And so one of the things that they're, again, specifically Alta Sea, because that's where I've actually visited their location, and that's one of the things that they're focusing on is how can we get as many resources out of the ocean as possible and without causing harm. So like collecting the metal from the bottom of the ocean causes lots of damage to the ocean bottom and to the marine life and all that kind of stuff. So Alta Sea is trying to do a movement where you're not harming the ocean or you have as little impact on it as possible, but still also try to pull from it things that are useful and resources that are useful to the general consumer or to different organizations. And so I know specifically water purification in general, super important, especially as you mentioned, Adam, with California. And so that definitely is an area that they're doing research on. So and they're always trying to perfect it. And so even like I mentioned earlier about um, wave energy and how can you capture the wave energy. And the problem that they actually have this giant machine that you can see how it works there at, it's sort of like a rotating machine at Alta C. And the problem is lost energy. Like all the energy that it takes to make the energy, how can they capture that? So they're always trying to try to refine the process. And so they're doing the same thing with desalination. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so again, what jobs are available? Again, lots of different jobs, especially as the industry continues to increase. The things that are around the industry, the things that are again around the coast, and as it moves more inland, there's lots of different opportunities. Again, there's been lots of funding that have gone out to different schools and different industries. One of the big thing is that the people are trying to again justify why anyone should care about it or why they should care about it. And so again, this slide here about the climate across the curriculum. This is where I took the concept and made it BCAP or blue economy across the curriculum. And after I took it back to the steering committee for the 19 schools, I didn't know how well we would be received because I thought, will there be an interest in it? Will there not be interest? I didn't know. So one thing I discovered was that there was such an interest in what I was talking about that they wanted the steering committee to either as a whole or as a work group create a sort of a standard for all of the schools, for all the community colleges to use that same shell. I was like, well, you're more than welcome to use my template, but they also wanted to include some of the four pillars, which includes the science as well and the science perspective, and they wanted to focus on those things. I was like, by all means, you can take it and do whatever you want to with it, but I just wanted to make it standard and simple. And so again, it seemed to be well received. So I was really happy about that. So that's my extent of the blue economy. And again, it's really, really exciting. You can check online. That's like I said, frequently. There are events at Alta C that is open to the public, open up to academia specifically. On Tuesday, they had a focus only for faculty. So they wanted to come and have a day there. So again, they wanted to try to train us on how to speak to their topic, which is the ocean. So.
May we ask questions?
Yeah, are there any questions or comments?
Well, yeah, I looked up, I asked Claude to give me a short summary again about the blue economy. And it says the blue economy refers to the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs while preserving the health of marine ecosystems, just like you explained. And I can't help to think about humanity and our greed and our overutilization of things. And I'm wondering, are you familiar with guardrails that may have been placed to make sure that the blue economy doesn't become a overutilized and therefore exploitative way for fisheries, aquaculture, shipping, tourism, and so on, to be conducted? So how is overexploitation prevented?
Thank you. And so the key component, that's a great question. The key component there is the sustainability and the idea that we can keep doing it. And so unfortunately, as you mentioned earlier, that there are going to be bad people that are going to do bad things, but that's not the idea of the movement. The idea is how can we work with them holistically and how can we work with them continuously? We want to, yes, take fish out of the ocean and, from sea to table, but not a fish that is harmed, but a fish that is actually set up to continue that can replenish easily. That's when the kelp comes in. Because again, I was unaware of how much stuff you could do with kelp. Like in fact, it's almost everywhere. I was completely surprised. And so on different things, especially different cultures that can use it for different things. And And so, as a side salad, it's like, so anyway, so you can do lots of stuff with kelp. And so it's really interesting because, again, Alta specifically, they know that it would be easy to harm the ecosystem. And so, collecting minerals from the ocean is so damaging, absolutely damaging. And even when they say it doesn't harm the fish, it absolutely does. And again, because they're not doing anything to protect them. And so it is something definitely that is on the table as far as making it as sustainable as possible. And you do that by, again, we want, hopefully, because something that can be sustainable for generations, not one and done. And now we've destroyed that. And now what's next? And so that was a great question. Thank you.
Other questions? Because my next question is, how can we expand this to four-year colleges? And you mentioned that it's mainly used for community colleges and all that. So how can we expand this idea? Because I do mention it in my classes, but I do feel that we can take it further, and I would love for instance, Woodbury to be considered to do something with this. What lobbying needs to be done here? Or is that something that's still out of the league?
No, I think it's very possible. In fact, I was thinking about it before this presentation was as I looked at the grants that are available, and if nothing else, the partnership with Alta Sea, because Alta Sea is the main company that's sort of doing the movement. So we're in close proximity as opposed to the rest of the world with them, and they're willing to work. They are hungry to work with organizations and people, especially an organization that like Woodbury, that you're putting leaders out into the community. They want to capture those leaders into their industry, if nothing else, to make them aware of it. And so I think what needs to be done is to actually reach out and make contact with Alta Sea. Again, they're very receptive, and my communication with them has been very friendly. It's very cordial, and they're like sort of begging people, please come see our facilities, please come take a tour, and then once you do that, you get connected to so many other opportunities for professional development and personal growth, and so I think just someone as simple as someone reaching out. So we'll have someone as our Alta Sea person that reaches out to them and makes the contact, and then all follow-ups can be done through field trips or publications and sharing that with them with Alta Sea. So I think definitely it's a prime opportunity to be let it be a Woodbury thing, that there's the local LA university that handles the information about the blue economy. So that's a great question. So, yeah, and the main thing is, like, again, in my classes, I always want to start the class with, like, why do I care? Why is this important to me, or why should I care? And so then we as professors have to tell them, because again, this could have an impact, or this could be a growing industry. And Mark, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I do. You can see my background.
Yes, sir.
I'm pretty much an ocean person my entire life. I kind of grew up on the ocean. Tomorrow, I'll be in the Salish Sea, sailing to San Juan Island, and I'll be going to the Whale Museum, where they have a very nice biological center. And the last time I was there, they had a movie on taking core samples in the Antarctic of the ice and how many thousands of years it goes back, and how what we keep seeing in the past to help the future, I guess. I've seen the kelp beds off Southern California thrive back in the day, where they had barges come by and cut them for use of what you were discussing at the beginning of your topic. But since climate change, the kelp is there, but it's not an abundant anymore, and they no longer do that and naturally off the coast. And then I've been to Alaska for where they have the wild caught salmon that are actually, although they're wild caught, the salmon are born and raised originally in a controlled environment. Then they're let out to sea for a year or two, and they come back to spawn, and that's where they meet their unlikely death. they're considered wild caught in that way. So I've seen a lot of different aspects my whole life. And it's an intriguing area of myself that I've always enjoyed what your topic is. So I've dabbed with it all my life, but not in a professional or a financial area.
So I nominate Mark as the point of contact. It really is. Reach out. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mark, definitely reach out to Alta C and see what opportunities are there.
Mhm.
It's so cool.
Mhm.
And I said they do have the kelp beds currently, which is the man-made kelp beds, which is
Right,
really cool. So I would thank everybody for your time. I really appreciate it. If you come up with any questions, you could always send us an email or send me an email. I'm happy to, if I don't know the answer, I will try to find it out. It's really exciting. It's exciting. It's an untapped area for business and for our students. And so I will pass it back to Dr. Marquez.
Well, thank you very much. I hope that there will also be opportunities for students to engage maybe in blue economy related activities as internships.
Mhm.
Sure. Is there something like that?
There definitely are. Yes, absolutely. In fact, not only does Alta C have internships, but they partner with other organizations that have them.
Okay, that's
And they are hungry for interns.
okay. That's good to know.
Mhm.
I'll also report that to Wendy because there's a lot of students, especially this generation of students, they want to do something sustainable. They want to do something that makes a positive difference. And so if we can bring that up and share with them some resources, that might really be helpful. Well, if there are no other questions, I want to thank everybody for being part of this presentation. And I want to thank, of course, Dr. Sanford for enlightening us on the blue economy, which is something that definitely needs to be brought more to the forefront because it is one of the things that we definitely should use as a point of pride in this day and age where there's so much destruction and a complete polycrisis going on around us, and then having the blue economy as the counterbalance there is one of the shining lights in our existence today. So thank you very much, Dr. Sanford, for your positive spin on reality these days, and for your eloquent presentation. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Hopefully we will have another thought leadership presentation in the fall. This was the last thought leadership presentation for spring. So the next one will be in September, I believe. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. That was
Thank you
great.
for the
Thank you.
opportunity.